What's going on, family? We just want to come say thank you for your support. We've been seeing the likes, the shares, the subscriptions going up, right? We definitely want to be able to continue to do this. We definitely want to be able to make sure that we can provide quality content, the content that you need that's going to move the needle for your business, your family, and everybody in your ecosystem, right? So if you could do us a favor and share with a friend, right? Don't hold the information. Share it out. 2 or 3 people who you know need this information, and subscribe to the channel. That's how we get to keep the lights on, pay the bills, right? And it's a free thing. All you have to do is hit the subscribe button. It's real simple. It's like right there. Just subscribe. And so we're going to make sure that we, as a promise to you, we're going to make sure that our content continues to get better, develop more, and that we bring quality people to you and subjects.
That's right.
What's going on, y'all? It's another episode of Minding Your Biz. It's another edition of us, me, Dr. Blackwealth, and your co-host.
Oh, we are jumping right in.
That's right.
Yeah, it's Ms. Fab Financial. How y'all doing? What's going on?
What's up? We talking about Project 2025.
Lord Jesus, it's a fire.
It's out here.
It is out there.
Well, it's been out here.
It has. Some of us just probably didn't know what it was, that it's a thing. So
You had the congresswoman who, I forget her name, but the bald lady. I don't know if that's appropriate or not to say, but the bald congresswoman.
Or very descriptive.
That's how I remember her. So on TikTok, like blowing up about, like specifically laying out like, hey, we need to pay attention.
Yeah.
This is what's going on, etc.
It almost gave me chills, as if it was the manifesto for Hitler and the Jews. It was like, this is how we are going to exterminate, because they were very clear on how they did that in Germany. It wasn't a secret.
David was just talking about that.
It was just a little too late for people to realize what was happening. He already had the military, he had the government, and then he started collecting folks.
But if we move in that arena, left side, right side, you got America has many different races here that lives here, that thrives here, that benefits from being here. Who would be the target people?
The minority, the poor. It's always going to be white male elites, right? Because that was the same thing in Germany. Then you start to pick off the minority, right? The next larger minority, which is here would be African Americans. Then you go for the next minority, right? So in Germany, the larger minority was the Jews. The next minority were blacks, were like 0.1% in Germany at that time. But there was homosexuals. Like the minorities kept going down and down and down. But in Germany, it was the same thing. So when I look at Project 2025, I feel like it's a clear conservative plan on how you kind of militarize and take over America on a specific point of view.
But that seemed very targeted, because the JW people had money. They had businesses. They had a little bit of economic pull before, Hitler pulled out his agenda.
Right, but it's the same. It's similar here. So you don't think it's going to happen to you till it happens, right? You go here, you go, oh, well, there are black people who have some money, and there, people who have some political pull. That could never happen here. It's a very similar thing. You don't know it's happening until it's sometimes too late. But when people tell you what they're going to do, I would trust it, especially when you're galvanizing. How much money? $22 million is the budget for this thing. So I'm listen.
But what I'm saying is, excuse me.
And to be clear, guys, I just want to say Project 2025 is a collection of policy proposals to fundamentally reshape the U.S. federal government in the event of a Republican election. It's very clear on what mindset and philosophy it is. They have a playbook, 180-day rollout of what this is to look like. And they have 4 pillars and 4 promises that they are going to implement in the first 180 days. And to me, there were probably 2 good things I saw in here. One was about eliminating marriage benefits for federal welfare programs. I think that is a policy that,
what does that mean?
Basically, because now for federal welfare, it's almost like single people, right? You had, which kind of pushes and separates families or pushes men out the house, right? But I think that's probably one of the positive things I saw in there, that, hey, we're going to eliminate marriage penalties for welfare and food stamps, that you could be a married couple, combined income. If you still need help, we're going to give it to you. That's how I perceived it. Now, that don't mean that that's how the Republicans are going to lay it out, but I saw it.
I mean, I could believe it because I think it affects, I think it affects their people. We be thinking most black people are heavily on all these programs and stuff, but mostly it be them underlying. You know what I mean?
True. But as Americans, I think that's why I felt that overall was a good thing.
No, for sure.
For, in that regard. I think, of course, the two cons in it that I see, three things, but one of the major things, of course, is the removal of the Department of Education. I think that's, what's your thoughts? You looking like, I don't know what's going on. I think that is like jarring to get rid of public schools. I think that interferes with a lot of middle class teachers, administrators, principals who work for the Department of Education.
So last night we had a baseball practice, and so one of the parents there lives in DeKalb County, and so they said that they recently voted to where a portion of their tax dollars, because when you break down, which I think is most cities anyway,
yeah,
you break down the taxes you paying locally, like majority of it outside of property taxes is going to the schools. Mm-hmm. So they have a bill that their people mostly, I don't know if they're voting for it or against it, but I think he voted for it, where a portion of their tax dollars goes to like fund to get kids into private schools.
Right. Well, so that is the initial thing, is school vouchers, right? And so that is the thing that they're trying to make appealing to people, to say, because the public schools are not good, they're ruining our children, so we want to promote private schools. And so what does that look like? Most Americans cannot afford private school.
Yeah, but I guess I brought that point up because if you
private schools, including religious schools, operate independently from the federal government, right? Because they don't get federal funding, so they don't have different mandates. However, right, to get into a private school, it's not just about money, right? So let's say I get a voucher and I apply to go to a private school, but my child is denied. But there's no public option for him. Just because you have the money doesn't mean the school going to allow you in. That's like a false sense of reality. Like, oh, okay, we're just going to divert and everyone's going to go to a private school.
Yeah, but you got tax dollars that's probably going to push that. You don't think they're going to make more private schools?
Yeah, it's just going to be kind of like privatization of jails. Just because it's private, and the reason why private schools work in some cases, because it's intimate and small, and the people are paying and footing the bill and are involved in the process. Mm-hmm. When you start to me, blow up and make it a mass situation, you dilute and lose the efficiency of what private school is. It's not private anymore if it's public. I think you lose the cachet and the ability to educate at a higher level, right? Because private school is also higher paying teachers. Everything across the board is higher. And again, just because you say, hey, I'm gonna give you a voucher that covers how much? There's some private schools, you talking about kids who typically, if your parents is making $30,000, What is a voucher for how much? A portion? I still can't pay for it. Like, so then where does the poor kids go?
That might be the thing that like get you in there, but you know, there's no way that they wouldn't redirect tax dollars. I mean, because it'd be no different than college. You go to private colleges and you still get funding and federal aid and all that stuff to go to college.
Yeah, but there are people who still can't afford college. Public school is an option for even as if I'm middle class and I live in Buckhead, there's a lot of people in Buckhead who go to public school.
Okay, so
to remove public education then puts a deeper burden on the middle class to pay out of pocket what the government is not subsidizing. I think it's a horrible idea.
So with the push for Project 2025, what is the agenda of the Democratic Party to combat this?
I don't know.
And I think that's kind of, you know...
I don't know. But I know what's spelled out in here to say public schools' parental authority over their children's education is what they want. Promote universal school choice. And if you disagree, you should be cut from federal funds. I think is insane. It's sometimes as parents... The reason why we send our children to school is to be educated. Outside of, if we just teach them what we know, they become an echo chamber of, education is supposed to promote diversity of thought as well. And if I'm teaching my children
public education?
Public education in general, universities and schools came out to promote diversity of thought.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
Right? And so that's the premise of public school, right? Because people cannot afford to pay for children to go to school, which is going to happen. You're going to have a large gap of people who do not go to school, undereducated, which is the agenda. The less educated population, the more you can take advantage of them.
I mean, but the history of public schools from a secondary school is the history of public schools was put together to build working class people. They wasn't worried about them going to like college and promote educational thought. They was being institutionalized to work in factories.
To a certain extent, yes.
To a heavy degree of it.
So without education, what is the alternative? If your kids do not go to school, what does it look like?
I mean, that's a good question, but I mean that poses a heavy burden of thought to think about what do you do for your kids? Do people start to do private school? Do people start to do homeschool?
Only a certain amount of people. Already. That is not true. The majority of Americans send their children to public school across this country in large numbers.
Right, but it doesn't negate the options.
And it's also, what about the teachers and administrators? What I mean, you're gonna be displacing a huge amount of the middle class.
I see business opportunities.
Okay. So then that's
teachers being able to run schools, run programs, homeschool, get paid directly from. They got to redirect those tax dollars. We're paying even people who pay for private school still pay taxes that's going to public school. That funding has to go somewhere. They're going to have to build up for them to support this. Means that they're going to try.
They have already cut it. This is what they're cutting to support it. Right? Let me see. Let me get my notes together because I got my notes. It is letting something expire. Where is it? Reject, remove, DIE programs, eliminating Department of Commerce. It's all type of situations.
It's about control. They taking over the Federal Reserve.
Oh man. Okay. The expiration of Title I for elementary and secondary schools is the Act of 1965, where $18 billion for low-income students will expire. $18 billion for Head Start, for public schools, for lunches, will expire.
Right.
And where's that money going to go? You think it's going to go to the people for real?
No, it might not go to the people, but I'm saying, if I push an agenda to...
An already not perfect system, right? Nothing is perfect.
For sure. But if I push an agenda to rid public schools, that means... let's just go with this like if it wasn't the Republicans, because I think most of us will probably get distracted that it's just white Republicans.
Absolutely. It's definitely the messenger. Oh yeah.
If I'm pushing the fact that I want to get rid of public schools and they're taking over government in its entirety, they're taking over money, etc. Some of those guys and girls still attend nice public schools in certain areas.
Absolutely.
So that means them kids gotta go somewhere. They're gonna be having to put up school, but will be which we don't know. We will be speculating here.
There's always a gap. There's always this weird, let's do this without the plan. There's no plan in here about what's going to happen with the other children.
Right,
There's no gap.
We probably
they got a plan for everything else. Then where is the subsequent plan? They did that with healthcare.
What they do with healthcare?
This is political. It's the same thing with the Affordable Care Act. Millions of Americans go bankrupt because of medical expenses. That's why the Affordable Care Act was a thing. Insulin, pharmaceuticals, drugs is out of control. The issue is the pharmaceutical companies. But so what the Biden and Obama administration said was, at least let's try to subsidize health care for Americans. Well, they were anti-Obamacare. We have to repeal, and replace. There never was a replacement. There never was an option. So to me, it's all fluff and disingenuous. If the public school system is really an issue or a problem, let's focus on fixing the system that is in place that's not perfect versus trying to dismantle it with nothing to replace it.
Right, but then in my opinion, that would be what the Democratic Party should come back with.
But this is not their plan.
Right, but if they're going to, we just going to sit here and argue about the plan that they got. But
the purpose is to vote against the plan. Y'all get on out there and vote now against the plan.
But some of the stuff in the plan now, I don't agree with the total control and I guess absolute power in a sense.
Also feel like Christianity needs to be removed, right?
What you mean?
It was like pushing more Christian values, and I have a problem with old white men pushing Christianity. I have a problem with that.
Why?
Are you kidding me? The history of the world of wars, manifest destiny is in the spirit of Christianity.
But that's
slavery.
But black people don't feel like that.
Who don't feel like that?
Black people.
What black people?
A majority of them
feel like Christianity should be put back in schools.
They don't feel like it's a problem.
All right.
Data shows that. I don't even know the numbers, but just because you said it, I'm gonna try to find it.
Well, y'all should have a problem with it.
They don't though. That's why you gotta look how many churches. Oh my God, black people spend more time in church than they do in school.
Listen, y'all should have a problem with it because your Christianity might not. The way you interpret the Bible is not the way I interpret the Bible. I want my freedom.
Believe that. They don't believe that.
They believe it until it's restricted. They'll believe it until it's restricted.
Yeah, but you restricting something that was already put on you based off their set of values. Then we got an issue with how white people are pushing the agenda. You know what I like.
The country was founded as it was a reason for separation.
The
of
one
church and
thing
state.
I like about Project 2025, they have an agenda.
Lord Jesus,
and they pushing their values based off what they want to see happen in the country.
You're right. You're absolutely right.
We're going to sit here and every black person of Congress, every black person who go to church, every black person who feel that they tax dollars is attacked is going to sit here and depict this bill based off
until they realize their children don't have a place to go to school. They don't have daycare.
Plan of attack. With no plan of what we looking for.
I agree.
With no plan of how we going to get past the bill. You ain't even trying to see the bill to see what might work, what might not work. From a business perspective, I understand their sentiments around having control over like the Federal Reserve from a business perspective, right? Because they're like, you put the Fed and Powell in position of power to control monetary policies. Inflation rates is crazy through the roof. They would have naturally came down, which they probably would have, based off of what happened with COVID. Look at pre-COVID, look at during COVID, and look at how the money circulated back into the.
I don't think it's anything natural about any of that. There's
inflation.
There's some natural. like, I think the government has to push where it needs to push to incentivize big business and people to do things in the best interest of its citizens. That's what government is for.
You have high inflation rates.
You have high.
I ain't talking about government. I'm talking about the Fed.
Okay.
We talking about monetary policies
That's
that
they're
trying to control, right? Like, based off of, but that's in the Project 2025.
It is.
So they're trying to control monetary policy.
That's right.
They're trying to have absolute control of.
They want to reduce government.
Right.
Well, yes. That is the thing.
Without reducing government, because they putting all hands and power inside the president.
For sure.
But so my thing
they want to pull it and take it away from independent agencies and give it to the king, which is the reason why this country was existed.
This is going to be
to me, that's the primary reason why you need to vote against it. Okay? It's communist China happening right now.
Right.
Before your eyes.
So, I mean.
So y'all can sit here and argue about church and Christianity and religion, but you think the country is not what you want it to be now? Imagine having a dictator named Donald Trump that has absolute power and nobody is checking him. The Department of Justice is an independent agency for a reason. It's not perfect. But to now say the military, Department of Justice, we're going to eliminate this and that. All y'all have to be loyal to me, baby.
Yeah, I think
I am moving.
It do pose a problem.
I'm moving.
It do pose a problem.
It's an issue.
I mean, and for me to be clear, because I don't want nobody to think, I'm not really for or against it, right? I'm just laying out the facts of the bill or the whatever what they're doing. So I do agree. Like if we have absolute power in a way of total control, you're going to run into a problem. Period. It's not just a problem for Black people. That's just a problem for all Americans.
Absolutely,
for sure.
And eventually it'll be squeezing out the middle class, and it'll be a larger poor section and larger rich. It'll be a situation that happens in most of those countries when you consolidate power, and it's all under the presidential control. And so I think when we talk about 2025, when we look at their agenda, whether you like it or dislike it, I would encourage everybody to read it, look it up, see what it is. Don't just take our banter about it. Read it and see. This involves you. This is your country.
I just wonder what I think the problem that I'm really having with it is, and we probably never know, but I guess I'm just wondering, like, what's the real problem that they trying to solve, in a sense? You know what I mean? So I seen like we're
all the diversity, equity, and inclusion. They're talking about. I mean, it's a cult. They feel attacked by the cultural wars, right?
Let's be.
So it's no affirmative action, no gender inequality, no. Even they were talking about in public schools.
But let's be real. Policies are in place now that promotes diversity, equity, and inclusion in all public fashions.
Right. Policy is there because us as man, right? Whether you are a zillionaire or a billionaire, have biases, and the government is there to help protect the people who have no voice. Right? It did it with the civil rights with women and Black.
I understand what government's supposed to do.
And now it's doing it with people who you may not like their lifestyle. And that's people who are gender, transgender, gender neutral, gender fluid, whatever all that is, LGBTQIA.
I got you. So hear me out.
They're protections, right?
So hear me out. So we got policies that promote.
Y'all better clip that piece up.
We got policies that promote
forcing people to include other people.
But what actually happens is the opposite. Right now, for the most part, you don't have that. You don't have equal. You still have problems with wages as far as being not equally distributed
Absolutely.
out. You still have problems with people getting in position of politics. You still have problems with people getting in position of business and funding. So what is on paper is not what's actually being followed. So in the position to push Project 2025, what really is the problem here? Because you still doing what you want to do with these laws in place.
Okay, so the difference is that you can
now it's just we see it publicly.
No, it's full blown. It's overarching, right? So yes, there are problems with inequality in salary amongst gender, amongst racial differences, right? We all know that men and black women get paid less than our white counterparts, right? That is a thing, right? However, without any federal protections, right? It's even with affirmative action, you have to force people into those areas. If you have nothing, because they're trying to reverse it, that it's not illegal to discriminate. I don't need to hire a black person. That means we really don't have a way in at all. I can not pay you less money as a woman, and it's not against the law. So the class action lawsuits right now, they are in Georgia. They are suing General Mills for discrimination against race. If you then say that that's not even illegal, I don't even have protection against the law. I have to sit and keep taking your bullshit. I don't even have the law to protect me. That's on the books, though we may not always act it out in real life because it takes cultural, sometimes in generations, to move that, right? To move away from those biases and discrimination. At least I have the law that I could stand on to say, you can't discriminate against me because of my race, because of my gender, or my religious affiliation. They are now trying to change the Constitution and say, yes, we can. They just did it with those women lost their case. They lost their case. That they had a venture capitalist company to help black women to get funding and capital for their business. And they lost the case and said, that's discrimination. You can't do that according to how we feel as white judges. And they looked at the judge across, all Republican, all conservative, all were put up by the Heritage Foundation, which supports this.
I know
Okay,
boys.
So it's a planned attack, and you think it's
coming. We them boys.
Absolutely. you think Harvard University had people in there of color, and if they don't hire you now, they're like, well, who cares? It's not against the law. I don't even have to do it. Why? Because they get federal dollars to push it. Now they don't. Yes, it is not perfect. There is still inequality, but can you imagine? With not even without, I don't have a leg to stand on as a woman.
Yeah, we've been there, so I could imagine it.
No, you can't. I ain't never been there.
But I'm saying, we've
I've heard about it,
right?
But I ain't never been there. I don't even know how I'm built for that type of discrimination. I don't know. I don't know if I want to be checked in that arena.
Nobody never knows what they're ready for to come.
Absolutely,
all these young people are Gen Zs, they are pushing back between protests and
that's why we have to support them.
Riots and
they're the ones on 2025. Y'all better read Project 2025. Y'all better read it, take heed to it, and go, what's happening?
I really highly doubt this. I still feel like I still haven't found the smoking gun here yet. But
it's not smoking. It's on fire.
Yeah,
it's here. It's like, this it.
It's got to be something.
Something like what?
Pushed behind it. Something we don't see.
Like what?
I don't know yet.
Besides full control, what else is there?
But I'm saying I just can't see this really.
That's what the people say about Hitler. I just can't.
Ain't nobody say that about Hitler. Hitler
yes, they did.
Left hooked him.
You think he came out of nowhere? You think it was brewing. It took them years to build that up.
Yeah.
You just don't. You have to. It's proper. That's why it's called propaganda. They've been doing it for years, right? With this feeling disenfranchised. The white man is being disenfranchised. It's them, it's not us. Look, they taking our jobs and our labor. They taking over our Christian schools. All this inflammatory propaganda to make you feel some type of way. So they can push this type of stuff in your face and go, well, I don't see nothing wrong with it. They just public schools.
Y'all gonna really be surprised because I think some of the
public schools ain't. And nobody thinking about the teachers, the administrators, the school lunch people, the school buses. It's a whole industry. What are you going to do with the whole industry of public school if you eliminate public school? The school bus, the lunch lady, the maintenance man, the administrators. Where they go?
I really wouldn't trip about that because I think if for them to get rid of it, they got to have a plan to.
No, they don't. Who has to have a plan?
Because you don't see it.
Is there a plan for health care?
The kids is going to
They don't give a shit about the kids. They care about them.
Right. Their kids is going to go somewhere.
Their children who have the money to afford private school. They're not going to make private school accessible to everyone.
Them tax dollars is going to be reassessed.
First of all, that's unattainable. That's not even a thing. How many children go to public school? Because somebody Google that. How many children are right now in public school across the U.S.?
Let's see.
Where are they going? We don't have enough. Where are they going to go? And you're not. That means the private schools need to start coming up yesterday to get ready for displacement of public schools. We saw it during COVID. If you say, all right, well, now you can homeschool your children and we'll give you a $5,000 voucher. How many?
82%.
82% of Americans?
Yeah.
What's a number? 65.1
million.
million.
Think that's
where
all
they going?
Black kids?
Of course not.
Them kids is going somewhere.
It's not about black. It's classism at the end of the day.
Will go somewhere.
Where? Where they going to go?
They're going to build up schools.
Some of them that are in certain areas absolutely will qualify to go to public school. But the poor black and the poor white and the majority of the middle class children will be displaced. And some people might think it's a great thing. Oh, I'm going to get a voucher for $5,000 or $10,000 to homeschool my child. And it's going to be like COVID. You're going to have another generation of uneducated people being manipulated. And child, please, Lord Jesus, where they going? How much again? 65? How many children?
It's 49.4 million students. 65.1 million.
It's not enough. That means that you're replacing public school with public private school. Because that's how many private schools you're going to need to educate these children, to dismantle public education and say, well, we're going to give them vouchers. First of all, what's some schools called? They trying to
charter schools.
The charter schools.
They need to get rid of them.
That's like a public-private option.
Yeah, they gotta get rid.
But the private schools who are effective at what they do, you think they letting your children in there? You think your children gonna go to the private school right now? You're like, oh, I really like that private school. It educates our kids. They're gonna say, oh, I'm sorry, we're full. We only allow 20-something children in here. Sorry. Or they're going to keep increasing the prices. Yeah, and so your little voucher for $5,000 is not going to do nothing. So what is the solution for dismantling, eliminating? They said eliminating the Department of Education will not be funded by government unless it follows conservative values. All right. And have more elements of Christianity. So if I go to, I'm paying taxes, but let's say I don't believe in Jesus. You have that right under the law to be here. So I don't want my child going into school praying, knowing the 10 Commandments and praying. I have that right if I'm Muslim, if I'm Jewish, or if I don't believe in your God at all. But my tax dollars contribute. No Christian values here. Now, I'm a Christian. I believe in God. So let's get that straight. But there are a lot of Americans who don't.
Like everybody in church. Look at this. It's 59.3% white people that are in schools.
And the poor white people going to vote for this. That's who's funding for this. They're funding their own demise.
Hey.
You elitist white people in power care less about poor, whether you black or white. They care less. They pretend to, because that's how they galvanize the power, right? But they don't care.
At the end of the day,
they don't care.
We as people, whether you minority, black and minority, the thing that we really should be kind of getting from this is, it might be absolute control. It might be they trying to push one religion or the other. You could say America gave you some certain freedoms. You can say that, we living better than yesterday for sure. But the problem with this is, I don't think it's going to pass, first of all. I think everybody's going to vote it down, or most people are going to vote it down. Or you'd be surprised by the Democrats you think you'd be surprised by the Democrats that's probably secretly supporting this while we focus on, Republican and Democrat. Anyway. We don't have agendas of our own to push to even try to combat this. If this get approved, what are we going to do about it? What's going to happen?
Well, we don't. When right now you can stop it. It doesn't even have to be a thing. So y'all better go out and vote for vote. First of all, research Project 2025. Yeah. Please research it. Don't research it and research it, sure. And then you determine if it's in your own best interest to vote. Right? Now, the thing is, it's not just the presidential. Let's say you vote for Trump, but you don't vote for the down ballot. You can vote for other Congress people who are more centrist if you really prefer Donald Trump. But that's kind of doing the opposite. If the support is the administration, it's the school board. They said bringing in all civil servants that believe in this. They're not just talking about the president. They have a plan to fill in all subsequent roles underneath the president because that's where the power lies, right? And it's the reason why they're going after the Department of Education, the reason why they're targeting the school boards, right? That's where it goes. So y'all look it up, guys. This is minding your biz. This is a part of your business, right? It's a part of your business. Where your children go to school, how you survive. It cuts out the middle class. Maybe you don't have an opportunity to start your business if you have to pay private school with a voucher, right? Because some people rely on after school programs so they can work on their business. Some people rely on Head Start. Some people rely on daycare. And daycares are funded by the federal government, by the Department of Education. So this is your business, y'all. This is your mind it. Look up Project 2025. That's not his thing. He's not going to say anything. So look up Project 2025. Like, share, and subscribe. For sure. And thank you for coming. And don't forget to mind your business.
Let us know what you think.